Do you get like a bunch of intro songs and stuff? I do like 10 minutes of intro songs.
Oh no, I just jump right in. Like we're in it right now.
Oh shit! All right. Oh, that was good. All right. Hell yeah. Oh, Carnival
What's good,
Spirits and
y'all?
shit, huh? Thanks for having me, bro.
Hell yeah, man. We got Swills Edition in the tunnels today. And I'm very excited to do this. You're someone that just randomly popped up and I'm like, all right, who the fuck is this guy? Because I've been doing this YouTube thing for a long time, but I took a little break like for a couple years. And whenever I came back and started getting reintroduced to the community, you're one of the first people like I saw popping up. So why don't you just go
Yeah,
ahead and we'll start with
you
a
know,
little
I came in
intro.
hot and heavy, Seth. I came in hot and heavy. Um, I've been a juggalo for a long time. Been a juggalo for 30 years. I got ticket stubs from 96, 97 era. And oh, nope, not today. As my probation officer at school, I'll call back. Um, I've been doing this about 30 years or so, and um, I've been to 22 gatherings. This will be my 23rd gathering coming up. I've been around the community a long time, and I love the Juggalo community. It has completely shaped my life. I wouldn't be where I am without the Juggalos. And I look up to Jay and Shaggy. I've looked up to them for years. They might not be the ideal male role models, but I feel that they've taught me a lot over the years, just about how to be a decent human being. And with the Juggalo thing, it's how I met my first wife. It's how I met my second wife. It's how I had all my kids. It's kind of how I've made all of my friends and all of that. And a couple of years ago, I was just doing the Facebook Juggalo thing where I would go on the Facebook groups and kind of mess with people and do that. And I had left the gathering, and I said, "Oh my God, is that Zach B saying stop ignoring me? Is he yelling it at us? Does he everybody use caps or just Zach B? I'm not ignoring you, Zach B. I'm just trying to pretend like you're not there." So anyway, yeah, we Zach B's my homie. He just actually, if it wasn't for
All love.
Zach B, I wouldn't even have went to Juggle, Ohio. He gave me a 2-day pass to go there, and he was like, "Dude, you better get down here and come hang with us." So shout out Zach B. You're not
Hell
invisible.
yeah.
I'm just wishing you weren't here. No, I'm just playing. He's cool. But I was doing the Facebook Juggalo thing where I'd be in groups, I'm meeting people, and we're talking, and I'm like, man, there's so many like funny people, but you don't quite get a vibe for who they are. It's just kind of like, oh, they're a name on a thing. Maybe you see their picture, and then like when you run into them at the gathering and stuff, and you're like, oh man, like yeah, I know you, and it's cool to just have that vibe like that. But I'm like, I'm just looking for something a little more, I guess. And a few other juggalos were doing some podcasts and stuff, and they said, "Hey man, why don't you come on as a guest and kick it with us a little bit?" I've been camped with the beer wheel since its inception, way back at Cave and Rock, back when the Pittsburgh Juggalos used to run it, actually. So we're talking like way back in the day. So I have a lot of relationships with juggalos. You meet people, you talk to people, you get to know people. And I was like, you know what? I want to do a little more. I want to, I was looking around at some of the things that were going on, and like, Deck One Delt and Midwest United, and a lot of these guys, even Carnival Spirits, and I feel like when I first heard it come, like Carnival Spirits wasn't even. I knew you guys did stuff, but you weren't really doing a whole bunch, and it was like that with a lot of people, where there was people that had been doing it, but it wasn't like, I'm very high energy. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I was looking for something a little more in your face. And I had kept suggesting to the guys they invited me on their podcast, and I'm like, oh, let's do this and let's do this. And they were like, no, that seems a bit much. And I was just like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do it on my own, and we'll see where it goes from there. And I've been blessed by the carnival that I just recently today, I think it said it was like 2,250 subscribers or something like that, and it has just blown up in the past couple of months, because at the beginning of the year, when it got to be December, I was pushing to get 1,000. And I was like, man, I was at like 850, and I'm like, oh, I just want to push this up over 1,000 and get it up there. And once I reached that 1,000 mark, it just seemed to boom, 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 start taking off. And a lot of people coming into the chat and just sharing the stuff with their homies. I try to showcase a lot of the smaller juggalo stuff doing, it's a juggalo channel, but I don't just like sit there and talk about things that the clowns are doing or something Ouija's doing or everything else. I like to talk about like what the juggalos are doing, what the people got going on, which is why I could totally appreciate something like this, where I see the episode you had with Don Chaos on here, which much love to Don Chaos. That's my motherfucking homie right there. I like
Brother
Don because his name sounds like he's going to be like this wild guy or whatever, and he's just very mellow, dude, and very down to earth. So it was like I see Brett's over there chew about 350 bot accounts for. Oh, I love me some bots. I don't, I've been seeing a lot of new names in the chat and stuff, because I wonder that too, that like how many of these people are actually real people. And you know how it is, like if you have 1,000 subscribers, maybe you have 100 of them are active, and of those 100 that are active, only 10 of them regularly show up, and of those 10, only 7 are typing in the chat, and so it's been going real good, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Oh shit. And I see Thuggalo Onstead in the chat also. And those guys have been the Thuggalo show. Those guys have been super cool with me, and I like messing around on their streams because they're a little bit different from everybody too. With the whole, they'll talk about conspiracy theories, or they play this little game where they pull up pictures and you have to match the mug shot with the crime, and it's funny stuff. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's different. It's always a good time. They do Saturday nights.
I know. Yeah. One of the things I noticed when I started checking out your show is that it's completely left field from, what I'm personally used to in the Juggalo world. Like you have your co-host who does like the battle rapping shit. Like,
yes, yeah.
Which actually he kind of reminds me of like shit I used to do back in the day. Cause in the early days of YouTube, I used to wear a mask and I used to do an over the top like character. And
and you know what, and like you said, it's like, oh, it kind of, I feel like people did that, and then it kind of faded out. And when I met Wrath, because he didn't start out doing it with me, it was kind of like one of them things that like I asked him to come on as a guest and he just never left. He just kept showing up. So so I'm like, well, okay, he's my co-host, and like you said, he's a little over the top with it. And, I'd be sure to tell people that, like, hey, don't be offended by the stuff we're doing. If he calls you an asshole, like, we're just, juggalos talk like that. That's like our love language. If somebody tells you to fuck the fuck off, that just means like, hey, I'll see you later, dude.
Yeah. There's a totally different thing if you're like actively in someone's face, like, no, seriously, fuck you.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
There's a big difference. And
I
also go on twice a week because, and sometimes it's hard to come up with stuff to talk about twice a week, every couple of days. But I really wanted people to get to know me also. If we hang out for 2 hours every couple of days, and I wanted to give people something to look forward to during the week, that we could have fun and you let some steam off. And all the time I'm getting hit up with different suggestions of like, oh, you should talk about this, or, oh, can you play this, or do you mind listening to this song? And I love that stuff. I love being involved in the community like that.
Hell yeah.
Oh, geez.
So
I see some of my haters over there in the chat too. Shout out Frankie Goldie.
Oh, shout out to the haters all day.
Yeah. My guys.
But, you say you've been down for like 30 or so years. Do you remember the first time you heard ICP?
Yes, I do. I was over at a buddy of mine's house. We were at a party, and let's see, I had to be in my early 20s, something like that. Yeah, it had to be early 20s. And chicken hunting came on. And this was probably right around the time Malenko came out, maybe because I heard chicken hunting and I was like, oh, this is a great song. This is a great song. And I didn't dive deep. I wasn't like I heard that and like, oh, I'm a juggalo, right? Because there was a lot of good music coming out at that time. And I was a little bit of a metalhead. I was into Pantera and I was into Metallica and Megadeth and Suicidal Tendencies and yeah, you already know,
Yeah,
So
I do very much so. You're speaking
hell
my
yeah, hey,
language.
hey, they're throwing money at me. Jake Neely just threw $5 at me and said, talk about Swilly B Rag's magical bag of spam. Oh, and that this is another thing is like all the stuff people are sending me and text me, thank you, Jake Neely, you the man. It keeps everything going. And then they're giving me ideas with stuff and sending me little emotes and sending me stuff going, oh, here, man, I made this little song for you, or hey, I drew this picture for the show. And just getting the stuff together like that and having people throw stuff at me like that has just been beyond great. Like I said, I'm beyond blessed with it. But it wasn't like the first time when I heard them, it wasn't like I instantly fell in love with them. I liked it and I knew what it was. And it wasn't until like the second time I heard it, maybe like a month or so later, where I was like, who is that? What is that about? And my guy says, yeah, that's this is Insane Clown Posse. Started talking about their record got pulled by Disney and shit like that. And instantly, okay, now I'm intrigued. Well, you know what I'm saying? Okay, it got pulled off the shelves. Well, shit, that sounds like something I might like if they're pulling it off the shelves. And I went to the record store. We had a Coconuts around here. I don't know if you guys had Coconuts out there. It was a big, CD album record store.
Kid, I lived in Evansville, Indiana, and Coconuts
Okay.
was one of the number one spots.
Absolutely. Yeah. Evansville, that's down in the bottom corner, isn't it? That's like southwest Indiana.
Oh yeah, right on the like Kentucky border. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I remember going to Coconuts and buying every Insane Clown Posse cassette tape that they had at the time, because this is like I said, this was like 95, 96, whatever that was that came out 96. And there was like the Forgotten Freshnesses were out, Tunnel of Love, Terror Wheel, Carnival of Carnage, but they only had about 6 or 7 cassettes out at that time. But I remember going and getting that stack of cassettes and finding them and putting them up there, and the guy just kind of looking at me and going like, "You're spending $100 on this crap," and I'm this is me. And boy, I'll tell you, I played those cassette tapes out till they were warped. All of them would just get run front to back. Malenko was, of course, a lot of people look at that one and you could say that that's like Insane Clown Posse's. It's almost become kind of a commercialized CD or commercialized album, I should say. And I see the chats over there talking shit to me. Whatever, dude. Yeah, cassette tape, Zach. You don't know about them. Put a pencil in it and shit would eat it, and it was terrible. Um, but like I said, I remember just falling in love with it once, I got the cassette tapes and just listened to them all front to back. And it was a thing. It turned into, well, that's all I listened to. Now I stopped listening to Pantera, and even Eminem was big at that time. And this was even before a lot of the Eminem beef things started, to come to light and all of that. So I just, yeah, like I said, I dug it and I fell in love with it. And I didn't really realize, I had gone to a few concerts and stuff like that. And I had a few friends that I knew listened to ICP and stuff. but I wasn't, I wouldn't say that like I was a full blown juggalo. I mean, I knew a lot of words to a lot of songs. I knew a lot about like the music, but I didn't know a bunch about the lore. And I remember going to shows and, seeing some of these people dressed up in clown paint and stuff. And I wasn't there yet. So I was like, wow, look at these weirdos. Who do they think they are? This is like Kiss Jr. over here. And which Kiss, by the way, was my first live concert. So been a Kiss fan forever too.
We
But
share that.
yeah, kid, you know what I mean? It's just Detroit
That
Rock
was
City,
my first
man.
concert as well.
No kidding. No
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, it was fuck. Hot in the Shade tour.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were really big in the hair then. They were, it's the
Yeah.
definition of hair metal.
Yeah, right. Like they were deep in it then.
Yes. Yeah. I want to say the first show I went to was it was the Crazy Nights tour in like 1986, something like that. Crazy Nights. I'll never forget. It was a few years after they took the makeup off and they were kind of trying to come out of that fishnet lipstick phase and go into something a little darker. But like I said, I wouldn't even have called myself a juggalo when I went to my first couple of ICP shows. And it wasn't until I met a group of guys, my man Creepy, RIP Uncle Creepy, just passed away this last year. And I had met these couple of guys and realized that they were like me. That ICP was all that they listened to, and they knew all the words to the songs, and they were teaching me, he's teaching me things about the lore. And actually, I met him right when Royal Highness came out. So that had to be in like 98 or something like that. Cause I remember he actually gave me the cassette tape. We're still on cassettes at this point. He gave me the cassette tape and he was like, here, dude, check this one out. I think you'll like it. You like ICP and stuff. I think you'll like these guys. And I started to realize, once I got to know my guy and I knew that, well, here's somebody that knows the songs like I do, and we're making jokes of them. We're making up our own bullshit about them, even, just having fun with it. And, we bonded from that moment on, like, oh, this is my guy. And then we started jugging together. You know what I'm saying? It was like, all right, this is my guy, where every time a concert's coming around, I'm hitting them up. We're going together. When the gathering came to Nelson's Ledges in 2003, and I had bought tickets for the one in Peoria, but I didn't end up going. I ended up selling the tickets because I couldn't get the time off, or I just couldn't make it happen. And then when the gathering came to Nelson's Ledges, and it's like, oh shit, well, that's like 45 minutes down the road from me. And my guy says, are we going to the gathering? And I'm like, I don't know, man. And he's like, we're going, dude, and he's getting the car, dude, we're going. And he drugged me to the gathering and we snuck in. We didn't even have tickets or anything. So he kind of really, showed me the way with a lot of things. And, it made me realize, looking back on it now, it's like, wow, man, is it just music? It's not just music. It's more than that. It's the friendships and the bonds that the music brings us all together, the people you meet. And, my guy Creepy, he was willing to do whatever for me when it came to stuff. We would, like I said, we would go to shows. We'd go out of our way to do shows, stuff like that. Look at, oh shit, Jake Neely. Jake Neely's just throwing the money at me like I'm some kind of a stripper. Am I allowed to show my nipple?
There you go. You get a nipple.
Jake. That one's for you. Hells yeah. Oh, Dirt McGurk hit him. Tell him the truth. We started a gang inadvertently. We didn't know it was going to be a gang when we started it. Right. But that's the thing. And you know what? It's a lot of juggalos. It's a great quality to have, right? But a lot of juggalos are almost loyal to a fault with it, where they say, oh, this is I'm a juggalo, and you can't even talk bad about juggalos, or you can't, they got their homies backs with it. And now that it's grown into where it is now, hey, fast forward, 30 years later, whatever it is, 20 something years later, and people have come, people have gone. This person came in and screwed so and so over, and they left, and it's I've just seen circles of friends come and go with stuff. People come in, and then a couple breaks up, and now this dude's seeing this chick, and this chick's with this dude, so now these people don't hang out anymore, and it all changes again. But it's all stayed pretty consistent with the people jugging. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of familiar faces. A lot of people that do it have been doing it for a long time, and it's dedication. And shout out Matt Sears. That's my sister's bestie. I see you over there, Matt. And Dave Nutt from Don't Nut, that thinks I invented boofing, but I learned it from watching you, Dave Nutt.
So going back to like your first gathering, what are some memories you have from that gathering?
Oh shit. Well, like I said, it was 45 minutes from the house, and we didn't have tickets or anything like that. So we drove out to Nelson's, and we met some people on the side of the road. We started talking to some people, and they helped smuggle us inside. Just some random juggalos. We had no idea who they were, but they were like, oh, you guys seem all right. Come on, you're with us, And like I said, damn, looking back, like first gathering, it was mind-blowing, just the amount of effort that was put into it by the juggalos. Okay, not the show that ICP put on, right? But all the things that the juggalos were doing, that their whole year is spent on making this trip, making this camping trip happen. And people were putting, decorations up at their campsites. And, that's back when they used to do a bunch of the foam parties and stuff like that. So it just seemed like, it was completely, I didn't know anybody. After, I would say, second or third Cave and Rock gathering. Well, by that time, I went down we did a couple gatherings at Nelson's, and then we did the one at Pataskala, which was a complete shit show in 2006. I remember losing my shoe in the mud and shit like that. It was terrible. And then we started going to Cave and Rock, and that's when I started realizing that like, oh shit, this festival is a lot of the same people that are coming back year after year after year. I started seeing a lot of the same familiar faces, and be in line for the autograph shit or whatever, or hanging out in a line for something, and getting to meet some ninjas, and then seeing them the next year and being like, oh yeah, I remember you, dude. Like, I just remember having that epiphany back then, where it was like, oh, this is, the same group of people. And of course they're bringing some friends, and you bring friends to the gathering. And sometimes it's like, you bring somebody and they're like, I'm never missing another one of these. This is great. And then you bring somebody and they say, well, I'm never coming back here. I don't know what you find fun about this. This is miserable to me. Whatever. But those first couple gatherings where I didn't really know anybody, they were real fun for me with that, not knowing things. But then once it got into a groove where I started like recognizing people and knowing people, that's when it really became like a family for me. When I started realizing that, hey, there's people from Philadelphia that come to the gathering every year, that no matter what we do, we don't talk all year, because it wasn't even like all this social media and shit like it is now. We had some MySpace and stuff like that. But I knew, if nothing else, I was gonna see them at the gathering, that somehow they were gonna be there. So yeah, it was. He says Swill built the drug bridge. I can't take claim on that, but I do miss me some drug bridge. What a great place.
The one time I went to the gathering was 2009. It was Cave and Rock. And I could tell that like, I knew no one. It was just me, my wife, and we had a homie.
Mhm.
And knew absolutely no one, no tent, nothing. Just ourselves and like some bags of clothes. And yeah, man, we ended up having an amazing time. We had no money, like the family took care of us. And
And
it was
it's
actually the
amazing how
one,
they do that. I don't
yeah.
recommend anybody just come there with no plan and penniless, but also it will. Oh, the carnival has a way. Like I said, like after coming back a few years, and I really started believing in the carnival. Because that was primetime family era back then. Those cave and rock gatherings. Even the beginning of the second deck, all the Riders stuff coming out, all the Lotus stuff coming out, and there was that positive message that was in there that it just um it kind of like clicked one time, one day where I was just like, oh, this it's more than just music, and it's not quite a cult, it's not quite a gang, it's it's a community, you know what I mean? It's a culture, and jugging it isn't just music, it's a way of life, it's an attitude that you have
Right.
where where it's um maybe confidence that you carry with yourself, that you don't care if you're a scrub, you're all right with who you are, and that you're doing the right things, and trying to trying to make the world, you're not out here being a piece of shit is what it comes down to. I feel like was a lot of the message for me was like, hey, do the right things, even it doesn't always have to be the most financially lucrative of things. Like you said, like, hey, people could go there and they could sell hot dogs for $1 a piece, or sell waters for a buck a piece, but when they see somebody that's hungry, or they see somebody that's thirsty, they say, hey man, you need a water, hey dude, you need something to eat, hey, sit down in the shade for a minute, bro. Just to complete strangers. And some of that was just like, seeing that throughout the family. It made me want to do more for the Juggalos, even. I wanted to be a part of that, which is kind of how the beer wheel got started. Believe me, there's all good intentions behind it. It's like free beer, dude. You
Hell
just got to
yeah.
hurt yourself a little bit or make fun of yourself. We're just looking for some slight embarrassment here. Stupid human tricks.
So then you say that you were like when you first started getting into ICP and shit though, you were into like Pantera and like Megadeth and like
Oh
more
yeah.
metal stuff. Um how did you get into like that scene?
Well, when let's see, when I was, let's see, I was probably 10 years old or something, right? When Beastie Boys License to Ill came out. And License to Ill was like of course, my parents listened to a lot of the 70s rock and roll. They listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and stuff like that. They were rock and rollers. And plus, I'm from Cleveland. It's the rock and roll capital of the world, or at least the rock and roll capital of the United States. Anyway, I don't know. But it's rock and roll. So when I heard the Beastie Boys License to Ill, and of course with all of the older people around me, they didn't like that, right? They didn't like the rap and the rock being mixed together, and they felt like, oh, this is one, this is the other, and I just totally felt that stuff. Beastie Boys License to Ill was a thing that it got me into more rap, because we're talking NWA days and stuff like that. And then on the other side of that, I wanted to get deeper into the metal too, the Iron Maiden, and even some of that screamy metal. Slayer was a thing back then, and when Pantera came out in the 90s, and I was a teenager, and I just remember being like, wow, this is unlike anything I had ever heard before. It was like its whole own genre of music for me. So like I said, like the rock, the metal thing was just kind of, it was there because, being in Cleveland, and this is what a lot of my friends listen to, because even when boom, okay, I turned juggalo now in the later 90s, and some of my friends were even looking at me like, well, dude, can't we put something else on? We would always play hacky sack. Okay. Hacky sack was a big thing. We'd get the guys together and we'd kick around the hacky sack. Sometimes there'd be four of us, sometimes there'd be 12 of us, and that was the big thing with us. So we'd have tunes playing in the background, and I'd always want to put on ICP, and a lot of my friends would, either want to put on the hardcore rap or the hardcore metal stuff. So I was around a little bit of all of it, but like I said, once I got bit by the insane clown posse bug, that's where I was, and I would wait for the next release. I remember actually when Jekyll Brothers dropped, and I had been waiting a couple years for something new at this point. Since all the Malenko and all that, whatever, and I had been waiting. And I bought it from a store down in Dallas. I don't remember the name of the record store that was down in Dallas, but I was out of town. I was working out of town, driving trucks and stuff. And I was like, man, they just dropped this one. Like, I need to get to a store, I need to go find one. And it wasn't like all the Google and stuff. It just wasn't as easy as it is now. But I remember going and getting that one, and that feeling of like, when like when Jekyll Brothers first came out, I remember my first listen, and after coming off Malenko and all that, I'm like I don't know if I like this, and but then the more you listen to it, and it grows on you. And like I said, like creating that family era. I remember when Twisted would get hated on. Going to the concerts, and Twisted would come out, and half the juggalos would just be like, standing there with their arms crossed. And I didn't know a whole bunch of all of the, juggalo politics and all that then. But even back then, like, juggalos were stubborn to new acts being presented. They didn't like it. They wanted ICP. They wanted the Fago kicking.
Yeah.
They wanted, they wanted all that. So
my first ICP show was House of Horrors, and I remember this because this was Twisted's first tour as Twisted, and
okay.
I remember them just getting hated on.
Yes, yeah, it was a thing, and I'm like, like, I liked them. I liked the sound of it. Most Tasteless was good. It was something different, and I remember getting that cassette tape. Also, I'm stuck on the cassette tapes, and just playing that thing front to back, and wearing it out to the point where it was warped and you couldn't even read the songs on either side of the thing anymore because it had been taken in and put out and flipped around and kicked around so much. But yeah, it was like I said, I remember all that, and even the juggalos kind of rebelling back then, and then it just came in where like you said, that one day they were accepted. And I was at the Twisted Rock the Dead tour when they went on their very first thing. They played some little shitty bar here in Cleveland called the Euclid Tavern, and it's like this hole in the wall bar that probably holds maybe 120 150 people max. And I remember, like, going to that show though, and seeing all the juggalos there and the people there, and going like, man, this is my family. These are my people. I love the wild shit they were doing, and the different sound of things. The family era isn't ever going to be replicated. Okay. We all grew into that, and trying to even explain it to some of the new people now, people that weren't part of it, where like I said, it wasn't even like they would always announce when they were dropping something or doing something. They would just be like, oh, boom, here's this new Riders CD. What? When did that come out? I didn't see that. Like, that's, and that stuff was just, it was such a fun era to be a part of, with the different music that came out, the way they would make fun of things. We're talking like back in LimeWire days and stuff too, right? Like in the early stages of pirating music. And you would find like different mixes that people made and different versions of songs and that stuff. It was unreleased music from ICP and stuff. And yeah, that was like some of the best times, just waiting on that new stuff to come out or being surprised by something new coming out. And it was just like I said, it was good. It was a wholesome thing, and the Juggalos cared about being Juggalos. Now,
Yeah.
as it grew and it got a little bigger with thing, of course, you have you start getting people in that don't necessarily hold the same core of beliefs as everyone else. And there's people there that want to abuse it. There's people there that just say, oh, well, you could come to the gathering with nothing. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come with nothing and I'm going to eat everybody's stuff. And, I'm going to walk away with this 12 pack of beer. And I'm going to, people that just like abuse the love of the family. But for the most part, it was all love. And it was, hey, if you wanted a beer, here's a beer, man. If you want, we're making burgers and you want a burger, man, that was good stuff. And for the most part, Juggalos are still like that. But there's definitely a little more, people are a little more standoffish these days than they were back in the early days of gatherings and stuff.
Well, I think the culture has just morphed so much, since those days, since like the family era. But with that being said, how do you feel about the current state of the family though? Like I personally feel like we're in a good like place right now, like whereas like 5 6 years ago when things shit was kind of like screwy, I
Right,
feel
right.
like
Where they're trying
we
to,
got
I
through
feel
it.
like they're trying to, the stuff with Twisted, and then they bring Ouija in, and it was. Hey, I want to shout out to my man Dirt McGurk over here because he's bringing up that's some real old stuff right there. That was a bite off of the Mike Jones, and that was my actual phone number. It said, if you want to call Swole, you know what to do. Dial 965-4442. Shout out D. I wish I still had that phone number. Anyway, but yeah, that's one of the old school homies right there. But yeah, the where we are now, I can tell you, I personally feel we are on a definite upswing. It took years for me to recognize what Ouija Mac is actually doing. And there's still haters on him. There's still juggalos out here that say, "Oh, fuck Ouija Mac, I don't like that shit. I can't understand them, and that's not for me." And that's fine. But he was a great choice by ICP to carry this culture on his back. And he's a true believer. Ouija Mac is a true believer in this carnival shit. And I believe everything
Right.
that man has done, he has done for the bettering of our, whole culture as a whole. We needed a guy like Ouija Mac. We needed some new blood that was going to come in and somebody that was going to be dedicated enough to not give up on us, to not give up on what he believed in. He went through a rough period there where when he first came in, yeah, some people love it, but also some people fucking hated it. And Ouija was still a
Mhm.
little fucked up from, when he first came over, he got signed to psychopathic, and, he's talked about it and stuff, but he's had some drug problems. And it's not easy to stay motivated to create and to do stuff when you're on drugs, because you just want to do, when you're hooked on drugs, you just want to do drugs. So, but he stayed and he believed and he cleaned himself up and he got off of the drugs because he realized that, like, hey, I can't do both. I have to do one or the other. And he decided to put that down and follow this path where, like I said, a lot of the stuff where he talks about, it's hard to just say, okay, Ouija, they passed the torch to him and Ouija is now King Juggalo, da da da. No, because Ouija's just one of us. when Violent J and Shaggy are saying things, we look at them like they're the originators of this stuff. They're the OGs. So we look at them and whatever they say is like, oh shit, that's gospel. That's it. That's the word. If Violent J says it, that's what it is. Unless, of course, he's talking
Yeah.
about Yanni. People weren't going for that one. People weren't going for that
Right.
shit.
No, I remember when Ouija first came in because I was a Swagtooth fan, and I remember whenever he dropped his first solo single, it was Piece of Shit. And I remember the transition, and then he's gonna be playing what was it, the march, and oh wait, he's in this video. I remember that transition period whenever he was trying to clean himself up
Yeah.
and he was putting Swagtooth behind him, and he had to cut all those people off because they were just not good for his health.
Yeah, not good for his mental health,
that.
not good for his fit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
was
hard
one of
to
the
do.
first people to buy like a piece of merch like from his very first web store. So I know this transition that he went through very well. And if you listen to the music, he's literally like taking you along his journey, basically. Like if you dig deep enough and pay close enough attention, like, yeah, there's a lot of this wicked, fucking slap a thotty on the ass, fucking,
Yeah, and see,
all that
and
shit's
that's
in
the
there.
thing too, right? Is where like when you hear some of it, and like I said, of course, catching predators and the Nazi thing, whatever. You hear a lot of times I hear Ouija say that shit, and I'm like, okay, is he just saying this because he knows it's what juggalos want to hear, as opposed to like where when ICP would say something like that, I would be like, well, they're saying that because that's what they believe in. That's the foundation of their beliefs. And, talking about karma and this and that, and then when Ouija would say it, I would go, well, is that really how he feels? Or is he just kind of trying to pander to us? But I have since realized that like, because a lot of his songs are even like sound bites from ICP, where he takes a little sample of the song and then turns it into its whole other song. But
Yeah.
that's what he is there to do, though, is to carry on. He's not trying to change the message or spread his own word, his own gospel. No, he's still preaching the words that they are. But it took me a little bit to realize that and get used to Ouija back. And once I kind of got used to him and I actually sat and I gave him a chance and listened to some of the stuff that he was saying, I'm like, like, wow, man, this dude's a poet. He's actually very metaphorically clever. It's fast paced, and you have to know some juggalo lore to get even some of the references of stuff that he's saying. So I'm like, okay, this guy's done his homework with some of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you go back into those earlier like Swagtooth days, they got songs like Fago and Shampoo. I think that was one Chronic and Shampoo, but what was it? There's one mixed up Fago and Promethazine, call it Juggaline. That's on the first Swagtooth album.
Right.
And then he's like wearing like Esham fucking jerseys and shit. So yeah, he's always been there. But I think the reason that he started going extra hard and doing the like as what some people would call pandering is because that's really coming from the heart, and ICP gave him the cosign to do it. Whereas like before when he's Swagtooth, it's like, okay, maybe I should just kind of like sprinkle a tiny bit in there, but not be too upfront,
You
But then
can't
when
make,
he got the
yeah,
cosign, he went running with it. And he also kind of made it cool to take ICP songs and chop them up like we would do normal hip hop, like people do with 3-6 and shit like that. He really brought that into our culture because back in the day, people weren't doing that shit, like every once in a while, someone would like spit a verse over like you had A&B that did Fuck the World and shit like that. But
yeah.
that shit was crazy fucking hated on, if you remember. Like
Oh,
people are
yeah,
like, no, we don't
yeah.
want that shit.
Right. And that's, I mean, juggalos are a funny bunch like that, where everybody thinks that like, oh, if you're a juggalo rapper, like, oh, the juggalos will love this, because I'm talking about jug shit. I'm doing this, whatever. But that's not how this shit works at all. You cannot, juggalos know when they're being pandered to and when that shit's coming from the heart. And I think that's one reason that guys like Clockwork E are having the success that they are in this shit, is because those guys are juggalos and they come from this. They're a product of this and they truly believe. So it's not necessarily pandering, it's their personalities being put into music. Like, hey, shout out Cheese House also. I see Cheese House in the chat, and Cheese House won a jersey, a Potty Boys jersey last week. I hope you get your jersey, Cheese House, and I hope you enjoy it. It's gross. It's got poop all over it and shit. I don't know. I got one too.
So when you start going to gatherings and stuff, did you start paying attention to the bigger underground? Because like when you started going to the gatherings, we were deep in the family era at that point, because that's whenever like we had like Esham and you had like Lavelle and shit like that as well. And the camp was fucking huge. Zug
The
Island.
camp was growing. Yeah. Yeah, I remember, right, and getting AMB and of course you had Blaze and ABK and Boondocks coming into it. And I was just talking with somebody the other day how I'm like, man, like when Boondocks first came in, and I want to say it was Out Here was the name of the song, right? It was one of Boondocks' first ones, and it was like, man, I wasn't much into the Southern, country rap aspect of it, but Boondocks came out and it was something different. And I just remember hearing that CD bumping everywhere, that gathering, and people embraced it. They wanted some new blood to come in. And, oh yeah, Pixie said, and Crimson Creek. Crimson Creek's another one where it's like, it's a classic. It's got some great songs, but as a juggalo into the wicked shit, and I'm from Ohio, I'm sure maybe some, down south juggalos feel a little different, but with the Boondocks thing, it's like, okay, yeah, Boondocks track or two mixed in throughout is fine. I'm not going to sit and listen to a whole Boondocks album and love it and put it on repeat. But there's definitely some good stuff in there. And like you said, it was the height of the family era where this is what we wanted. We wanted everybody to come together and everybody in the studio together, recording songs, bouncing ideas off of each other and just evolving from it. I feel like it was everybody feeding off of everybody else, and they were growing in success. So they were feeding off of the fans also. It was just, it was a good time. It was a good time to be a juggalo. And, when the second deck came along and, all the beef with MNE and the breakup and all of that. And I felt like jugging went to a dark place for a long time. So it's good for me to finally kind of feel like it's on an upswing. I was just saying the other day, like my new slogan has been like, it's a great time to be a juggalo, especially an Ohio juggalo where, we're spoiled. We're the belt, we're the buckle of the hatchet belt here in Ohio. And everything from Michigan runs through us. The stuff from the East Coast comes through us. We're blessed with our shows. We can get concerts, go a couple hours to Columbus, a couple hours to Detroit, a couple hours to Pittsburgh. And there's always some kind of juggalo show going on, especially like Dayton. Dayton's another big one. And the Ohio underground music scene has been kept alive by these guys, SON and AXE, the super famous Fun Time guys, Clockwork E, our inner circle in Toledo, and that, Bundy and them guys down in Dayton and, the Cincinnati area. It's just been, it's been like, man, like, wow, these people believe in this and they're keeping this alive. They're keeping it going. It's not just the clowns doing stuff. It's not just Ouija. Yeah, we just had Juggle Ohio and stuff, but it's more than that. It's the smaller individual shows that that these people are putting their heart and soul into and making it happen with getting all these different artists. And I had just went to this SON's birthday party over the weekend, and it was one of the greatest shows ever. And one of the things about it was that all the artists that were on it, Siamese Goat, God, and them guys, they're up in Michigan, and they've been killing the game. Of course, Clockwork and all these people, Keegan Grimm is another one that I feel is a very underrated artist in this area. But a lot of the tracks that these guys did together, a lot of the collabs or features, when they were doing their set, the guys doing the feature would come out and do a song with them. So it was just like,
That's awesome.
Like, oh, this is great, right? Everybody's doing it, everybody's helping everybody else out, and it doesn't seem like it's so much as of a competition as it used to be. I feel like a lot of the artists used to hate on each other because, why am I going to help you promote your stuff if that's going to take eyes and ears away from what I'm doing? I want people to see what I'm doing, not what you're doing. But I think everybody finally reached a spot where it's like, oh, there's plenty of eyes and ears for all of us. And just because someone listens to you doesn't mean they're not going to listen to me. Like, I want people to listen to you. So maybe they'll give me a chance then. It's definitely, it's a good thing. It's a good thing recently these days. I feel like a lot of the artists are getting over that, like, I'm better than you, or I'm better than everybody wants to bring everybody up. And you got to match talent. Okay. You can't just be out there and think that like, oh, I'm going to get, Clockwork on a feature. And if you don't come correct with it, them boys are going to body you on your own song. So you don't want that. You better step your game up. And I love the way everybody kind of pushes each other to do a little better and be better. And not only that, but like, being in Ohio, there's a lot of the same faces at the shows. There's a lot of the same people that go to the Clockside events and the Juggle Ohio's and the ICP concerts. Like I said, the super famous guys there, they got one coming up here in a couple of weeks. And it's a lot of the same faces. And there's a feeling of comfort in that, knowing that like, if something were to happen at this show, that there's people here that I know, that I care about, that care about me, that aren't going to let no bullshit go down. And if you lose your phone, people are going to help you look for it to find it. They're not just going to try to swipe your phone and run out the door, because these are all the same people that are at all the same events. They're homies. I feel like the Ohio Juggalo scene is just turning into this family of juggalos, and I couldn't be prouder to be a part of it, to be honest with you. I'm so glad we are where we are, and how we finally come on this upswing, it feels to me.
No, I gotta say, like, being in Ohio, you guys are definitely blessed. Like, me and Beastmaster were just having this conversation. Yeah, you got like AXE, who I remember when they were first coming out. I remember their different iterations before they got signed to MNE. I remember when they got
how
signed
everything
to
could have been so different had they just not signed to MNE. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just been so different for them. I went back and forth with AXE a little bit myself, where I liked the Psycho album and I liked the Necronomicon up to there. And when they went to MNE, I remember almost kind of feeling a little bit like, oh man, you guys sold your soul. Like, what'd you do that for? You didn't need to do that.
It was like a betrayal feeling, because they also performed the gathering and kept it quiet that they were signed to MNE. Like, they were in the process of that. But then I found it interesting.
It felt dirty. It felt dirty.
It did.
They lost me as a fan for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. And even though they were like Ohio guys and I wanted to support them, and then I would just like hear their stuff and I would go, oh, that's all right. Yeah, that sounds like all their other stuff and whatever. But I recently feel like those guys, like, since coming out of that and everything with it coming to light, has really given me a new set of eyes to look at them with. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we all make mistakes in this shit. At the time, I'm sure they were just doing what they thought was best for their musical career, because it's not all about the money when it comes to this stuff, but it also has to be a balance of, well, if I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this and do it full time, I got to pay my bills somehow. I got to keep my cell phone on somehow. I got to keep a roof over. We got to have a place to record these songs somehow. So there has to be this balance of you love doing your art, but also you want financial stability from it. So I understand a lot of it with it. But like I said, when they came back, and it's like, okay, now I look at these guys like okay, they're kind of standing on their own, and they're coming out. They were different, yeah, sure, they're in a mask and they're talking about a lot of the same, it's all kill, death, kill, eat it, kill it, fuck it, whatever. But they have a way about them, a way of passing it back and forth. And whenever I talk about AXE, because I don't know like which one's which, I just call them small, medium, and large, because there's just like, there's the three of them. And but they bounce off of each other, and I love that. I missed, going back to the Beastie Boys. That was the thing that they did, where one guy would start the bar and another guy would finish it. And, they'd come in almost like have a conversation with each other during the song. And Siamese Goat God's doing a lot of that. AXE does a lot of that. Super Famous does a lot of that. And that's stuff I like to see as an old head juggalo is, the guy's bouncing back and forth out of it. Fucking shout out Mick Wig Split. I see you over there, Mick Wig. I see you guys over there making noise. Andy Christ.
But yeah, one of the things I think that we got to give AXE credit for is making it cool to have like masks and shit like that, because we didn't really have a whole like lot of people wearing masks and really doing a full like ICP style like gimmick or whatever. We had Low Key, who really did the mask thing, but he was kind of
out Low Key and all that Shadowland shit he's been doing. Jesus Christ,
oh
man,
yeah,
that guy does
sure.
not stop. That guy doesn't stop.
But yeah, man, like we had Low Key doing the mask thing. We had like, Mars, who had like the Hannibal mask shit. But then from out of nowhere, AXE came out. And as soon as they dropped like with a mask line and everything, like ready to fucking go right off the fucking back. I remember that shit. And, we started getting like Super Famous Fun Time guys who were also popping up around this time. And like those two groups, I feel like really popularized like a couple different things, because with Super Famous, they brought fun back into this scene. Like there wasn't a lot of people having fun. Like
they have a whole different dynamic about them. Yes.
Yeah. Like we had like bunny junk and shit like that, but that was OG shit. And that kind of just disappeared for a little bit, I feel like. But then we got Super Famous Fun Time guys, and then we got like Clockwork E, and it just started progressing and evolving in ways that I don't think that any of us really anticipated, but it's super fresh. It's all fucking juggalo shit for sure.
It is all jug shit. A lot of, I even was saying something the other day about how like horrorcore music, it's a funny genre, because a lot of it is the same. A lot of it is, of course you're talking about murder, you're talking about this, but it's a lot of storytelling rap. And if it's not done the right way, tastefully, whatever it is, you kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I've heard that before. I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to that again. But AXE has done well with keeping it fresh, with changing up their sound a little bit here and there. Like I said, they lost me as a fan for a little bit, but when they dropped the Lost Lake Estates, where it was AXE and Super Famous Fun Time guys on the whole album, it was Lost Lake Estates, and that kind of like I felt like it was like a breath of fresh air for everything that they had been doing. And I'm like, oh hell yeah! Hey, shout out Tooth Gang. in the chat also. Tooth Gang, my man Tooth Gang. He was my co-host last night. Big supporter. Been
Oh
a
yeah,
jug forever. Looks like he should rap, but he doesn't. So, but that, that's the thing with it is like you said, doing the masks and doing all that. It sometimes it comes off as tacky or too much, but these guys are getting it and they're living it, and even doing their own. The Zooligans are their own breed of people. Okay, like not every Zooligan is a juggalo, but 90% of them are, when it comes down to that. And like you said, they're doing their own festival every year. They do their own Camp Zool thing, Camp Zool shit, and they got to be doing all right because they're on like number 4 or 5 or something like that. So they must be doing something right.
right. And I think that's fucking just a testament, not just to like them, but to this culture and how we do shit, because there's no other subculture that's ever existed like Juggalos. We're like one of the most loyal fans that you could ever fucking have, like for sure.
Absolutely. Loyal to a fault almost, because
Yeah.
like I said, some of these guys, and they're so loyal, when ICP and Twisted left or whatever, and I felt some sort of way with it or whatever, right? But I wasn't always a fan of a lot of the emo stuff that Twisted was doing in that anyway. But these guys were juggalos. They were part of it. They were the vice presidents of this shit, if you will, and when mom and dad kind of started beefing and splitting up, and it's almost like you're feeling like you have to choose one or the other. Well, I didn't want to choose. I didn't want to have to choose.
Right.
I wanted to be able to listen to what I wanted to listen to. And but then after like listening to Twisted, and I don't know if it was me or the way they would do their stuff, but I would hear those little sneak disses on ICP. I didn't always hear it in ICP's music against Twisted, but I always heard it in Twisted's music against ICP. We're like, oh, these guys are bitter, and they're letting just the little twist of the lyrics to jab at these guys in whatever way it is to, but it's like, man, it's like you guys are trying to turn the fans against each other, and we're trying to be this, they're trying to preach unity here. And it's hard when we say, oh, well, everyone's welcome here. Well, except you can't come in here because you're racist. There's exceptions to it. There's whatever, but then people want to, they want to mold it into the way that they want it. And it's just not like that. You don't get to pick and choose who is a juggalo. People only they know if it is. And if you could just sit there and make it into this cookie cutter society of, okay, this is my idea of a perfect juggalo, and okay, you're allowed here, but you're not, and da, da, da. Well, what fun would that be? Then everybody would be the same, and that wouldn't be no fun. That'd be some boring ass shit.
Sure, for sure. But yeah, so whatever this shit starts going down, like ICP and Twisted start really beefing, like Scotty D did that infamous interview with ICP, the tell all interview where ICP sat down and just put it all out there. And I'm pretty sure it was that interview where it was revealed that Twisted would not be marching because they wanted to be paid, but they were going to be doing the Dark Lotus for Juggalo Weekend. That shit was fucking canceled.
Right.
But
right.
I think it's really interesting how they just totally buried themselves for a lot of us, because it really just told us what they were all about. Like when you listen to songs like for me personally, I fucking love Mirror Mirror. I can't listen to The Reason anymore. I put it on and I start listening to it and I start getting angry, like legitimately.
Because it's like, what happened to this? You told me this is how you felt.
Right.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand it. Yes. Yeah, because like you said, tell me the reasons why we do, and then I understand there's the creative differences, and oh, you feel like you're under somebody's thumb. Uh, you could do better without that, whatever. But then also there's a thing where um it's like, no, we built this thing together, and sometimes that means making sacrifices. That's just how it is sometimes you run the show and I'm going to come on here and be your guest, and sometimes I'm going to run the show and you're going to come be my guest, and it's this balance of back and forth, and we're just going to keep building on this thing. But it sounds like it turned into a financial thing, and okay, I don't want to see anybody get rich off of my labor and my sweat and stuff either. But also there always has to be that appreciation for what they did. And I feel like Twisted kind of shit on that a little bit, where they were like, well, we could have done this without you. And um
Like I kind of
it,
compare it like to wrestling, like Twisted. They kind of came in like WCW. They thought like, oh, look at the label over here. It's falling apart. We're going to poach everyone over here. We're going to be the top dog label. But while trying to be the top dog label, I don't think that they were holding on to their integrity. They weren't holding on
right.
to what made them Twisted, because you can hear it in the music how it just shifts. Like me personally, like I've been waiting to hear a Twisted album I like legitimately,
Yes.
for at least
Years
since
now. Yes.
2020.
Yes. I will say this. There was a few tracks off of the Glyph album that they just released a couple years ago. They did one called Glyph, and it's kind of a Dark Lotus-y looking album cover and stuff. But it has a few good songs on it, because like you said, there was a lot of it where I'm like, I wouldn't even, I'd listen to it and then I would go, oh, I'm not going to listen to that again. I don't know, whatever. If it happens to come on again and maybe catch my ear, but it wasn't grabbing me like it used to. Like you said, a song
Yeah,
like Show Me the Reason Why, and you hear something like that and it grabs you. You listen to the song and you hit, oh, boop, I want to listen to that one again. Hang on, we're just going to we're going to listen to that one over again, and maybe even do that 2 or 3 times and catch something new every time,
yeah,
and keep that feeling inside of you. And yeah, a lot of the music doesn't have that anymore. A lot of it
yeah.
doesn't.
Like I feel like a few years back, they tried like selling themselves to a new audience. You'll notice they started like touring with like Static X and shit like that, Cold Chamber, I think. But they started touring with like more like new metal artists, and they started like I think Fear Factory. I think they went on tour with them, and
Right. So
it
not so much targeting just juggalos.
yes, like they literally went on like a few years there where they were targeting new metal. But when you take a step back and look at that, it's like, wait a minute, new metal was hot 20 years ago. So you're marketing yourselves to a market of people that are in the same age group that had their
As
opportunity to listen to Twisted over the years and passed on it.
Right, right. And I understand that also, probably, you know, like if it was up to ICP, they would have been on MTV. They didn't choose to be this most hated underground band. They were forced into that, and they just decided to embrace that. Like, well, fuck, they would have sold out if they could have, if somebody would have allowed them to. Fuck yeah, they would have. They wanted that. They wanted to get out there and make it big. They wanted everyone to hear them. And it just wasn't working out for them. They were getting, blocked here and blocked there. And because it's a lot of politics. You don't realize it when, how many times has like, shit's happened to me where, I'm in the truck and I go to turn around the corner and there's a car that won't move, and I'm out there and I get out there and I go, move your fucking car, you dumb fucking bitch, you motherfucker, fucking honk on the horn at him and pull around the corner, and then realize that's my customer that I was just yelling at. So, so like there's a lot of shit like that too, where there's politics in this shit, and ICP's crazy, and they're fucking, oh fuck this dude and fuck that, and you don't realize that, like, oh okay, and then 2 years later they're like, well, hey, they're like, well, we want to be on this radio station, and you're like, Yeah. Hi, I'm the guy that operates the Rouge River drawbridge in Delray on Jefferson. How you doing? Remember you said fuck me? Now I'm not playing you. So there's the politics that go into this that a lot of times, because it happens with me all the time. I'm a little bit rough around the edges and I make fun of shit and I laugh about shit. And then people are like, oh, well, I don't like him because he found a picture of me when I was in high school and was making me sing Christmas carols on his show. And, he's an asshole. And it's like, well, yeah, it's all just for fun, just trying to have some fun with it.
Right. So going back, let's go back to your show now. How did you like decide to start incorporating shit like that into your show? Because like I said, like you do something completely different. You have all these like crazy video intros and stuff that has like your fucking head on it, and like
Yes,
where's the
our little head
inspiration?
movies, our movie memes. Um, that's what we used to call them memes, but they're not really memes. They're head movies. And that was the thing that this app came out, and my sister, a couple of my guys were on it, where they were just making fun of the different shit that was out there. And like I said, it just kind of turned into part of the show. It was a good way to have some laughs with some of the people that are in the chat with some of our friends and stuff like that. And it's a good way to kind of like segue and distract from things when you feel like you've kind of burned out on one topic and you want to move to something else. It's almost like a little commercial. But they've turned into things where like people send us pictures, or we always try to like get some with the guests and stuff. I call my guests my guesticles, and I always try to like get pictures of them and incorporate them in with stuff. It's like I said, it just kind of turned into one of them things where we're like, oh, okay, this is just a regular thing we do on the show now, and it's fun. It's something fun to do, and it's fun to keep the people involved with it and stuff too. And I only put heads of people that do super chats.
So whenever you like invite guests on, do you clue them in on what they're about to get themselves into, or do you just throw them in?
Well, yeah, I mean, depends. Like I had Darby come on a month or so ago, and of course, I had to let him know that, like, hey, look, the chat's a little rough around the edges here, and don't worry, if there's anything you're not comfortable with, we'll try not to, make you talk bad about your boss or paint you into a corner with any drama or anything, and and all of that. But for the most part, if somebody hits me up to and asking to come on the show, I like to think that, like, okay, they probably have a little bit of an idea of what we do over here. And a lot of it is I don't like to even plan out a lot of things, because then it almost like feels forced. So I might like write down a few videos to watch, or some things that I want to pull up, but I want the conversation to flow naturally, and I don't want to like ask a bunch of things and say, okay, hey, now I'm going to ask you about this, and now I'm going to ask you about this, and whatever. No, I want that like organic answer. And even as far as somebody coming on, I don't always go listen to their music. I wait to play it during the show so that I can be like, oh, okay, I like this, or I don't, or I, just kind of be honest, give that honest reaction with it. And I feel like that's what a lot of people like about my show is I just try to keep it real, and I try to keep it organic, and I try to keep it light and funny. Um, we do a lot of insulting each other. We're a very roasty bunch of people, but I feel like all juggalos are kind of like that. Don't get me wrong. I don't represent all juggalos, okay? And just like with my show, with your show, with anything, there's people that see my show and they go, well, I fucking hate this guy. I don't want this guy. I don't want people to see this guy's shit and think people are going to think, well, that's what juggalos is, because that's not what I am. But I also know that I do represent a certain percentage of the culture, and there's a lot of people that feel me with it. And I've been proven wrong on the show too, and I've learned a lot from doing it. I'm not too big of a man to admit when I'm wrong about something, even if it's a way of looking at things. You know, I might have an opinion on something, and someone in the chat says something, someone, you know, somebody says something, and I it clicks on me, and I go, well, damn, you know, I never even looked at it from that point of view. Holy fuck. Chapter 18. Ray Davis just gave me $5. Ray Davis, that's going to get you in exactly 5 head movies. Chapter 18.
Oh
We
yeah.
hate it. We heinous because we anus.
So when did you first like start paying attention to Darby?
I didn't I wasn't really on the Darby train until shit, I was late to the party because it was kind of right before Garden came out when he played second stage at the Gathering, and I was camped right there in that front row in the big gravel lot. And that was actually when second stage at the graveling of the Juggalos. And it's this just, you know, a big lot there. And I remember seeing the crowd come over for him and show out. And when his music came on and just his vibe of things, I was like, oh fuck, I think I've been sleeping on this guy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't hip. I didn't know Darby when he was at LSP and all of that. He was already on chapter 17 before I signed to, or you know, signed to chapter 17 before I heard of him. But I remember hearing it and going like wow, this is like it's raw, it's grungy, it's almost like industrial. It's like you can hear Darby is one of us. You can hear it in his shit. Oh my god, Pixie, that'll get you in exactly 2 head movies. I love Pixie 6660, been one of my biggest supporters. So shout out Pixie, love you. And Big Sis
Oh yeah.
in the chat over there. I begged another $2 out of Come on. She's what?
But yeah, when it comes to Darby, I remember he
Sorry, I was
first
just
hit me
begging the
up.
chat.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, Darby hit me up because I did a call for a mixtape that I was putting out, and he was like fresh into the Darby name, and he sent me some tracks. He sent me the original like "No One Wants to Be My Friend Because I'm a Juggalo" and "Master Shake Stole My Car Keys" and like these crazy fucking just titled songs. I'm like,
The
what the
titles.
I was like, what the fuck is this shit? But you know, this is around the time that like Suicide Boys and the SoundCloud wave was really big, and you know, I jumped on that shit, and Darby was like he was the Juggalo version of all that shit, you know. So I
Yes,
thought it was
yes.
super fucking fresh that someone was taking that new style and putting the Juggalo kind of spin on it. Like we had Ouija, like with Swag Tooth and shit, but Swagtooth was, I feel, adjacent to the sound. Like they were definitely part of that SoundCloud wave, but they had their own like unique
Yeah,
sound
and you know what?
as
I've even
opposed to
gone
that.
back, and once I found a love for Ouija and heard, and a shout out Silver Stasher for the $5 holla. I promise you I'm gonna take that money and buy drugs. Um, but I had got it, I got an appreciation for Ouija, and I went back and I listened to some of the Swag Tooth, and it wasn't grabbing me. Okay. Now I don't know if it was like, oh, what I was hearing wasn't didn't have the best production value to it or whatever it was, but like the Swag Tooth stuff just never kind of grabbed me. But I was never big into a lot of that. Um, you know, I don't want to necessarily put them into like that Suicide Boys, but that's what it reminds me of, is like that southern industrial thing. But they're like from Vegas or whatever, right? So it's not even necessarily like southern, but it almost feels like that kind of genre with it.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah,
maybe I should give
Ouija's
some
from
Swag Tooth
Vegas.
another. Yeah, I should give Swag Tooth another chance with things, because I have found a love for some people like 99Z. I don't know if you listen to 99Z and Saliva Gray. They got some stuff out, but it's very hardcore. and even like Bloody Ruckus, the Resurrection of a Broken
Ooh.
Reflections album, has this old. I love what Ruckus did with that album. I couldn't tell you a lot of the songs and the things, but I know this, that sometimes when I'm in a mood, I pop that shit on and just let it play in the background, and I catch myself going, you know, and I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, Ruckus is in his own fucking league. He's like one of the fastest rappers, like actually recorded as one of the fastest rappers, like in the fucking United States. I think
Oh,
he
no
is the
shit, no shit.
fast.
Yeah.
I think he's recorded as like the fastest in Wisconsin or some shit like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, man,
you
all
know
love
what? And
to
that was the
fucking
thing, right?
Ruckus.
Like, think about that. Even because this is, I feel like the Ohio music scene now is what the Wisconsin music scene was back when, you know, all that cult shit was coming out.
Mm.
Back when Dark Half was making a name for themselves. I relate Dark Half and Clockwork E a lot, and not the music, but the way that the fans are drawn to it, and the level of love and support and loyalty that those fans have for those artists. Wicked Wisco was killing shit for a little bit there.
Oh yeah, I remember those Wicked Wisconsin like compilation CDs, fucking Force Five Records whenever they first popped up, and they signed Boondocks back in the day, and
Yes, yeah,
they had
yeah.
they
That was
had
the guy I
fucking
had on my
Cousin
show
Cleaners,
last night. Was
Donnie Polinsky.
Donnie Polinsky from Force Five. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we had a great time. He was a great guest. I didn't know a whole bunch about his stuff, um, but he was a great guest, and it was so fun having him on and getting to learn about some of the stuff that they've been doing.
When it
There-
comes to him, I'm gonna suggest one album. He has a collab album. It's him with Insane Poetry and Chucky Chuck,
yeah,
and it's called The Nomad.
the Nomads. Yes, yes. We were playing some of that. Yes, and it's
Yes.
great because I feel like when I love hearing stuff like that where people have the different styles, because you know, Insane Poetry, he's IP has this flow about him where um you almost have to like listen to what he's saying in order. You have to like you can't just like hear it and go, oh yeah, I feel that. You have to like listen to it. And then, you know, these other guys are coming in with a different, you know, one guy's coming in a little louder, and it's just, I love the contrast of it when guys do the super groups like that, for sure.
Yeah,
And of
man.
course,
That was a killer
Chucky
fucking
Chuck,
album.
he's still doing the Cottonmouth Kings thing. Him, Judge D, and D Loke still doing the Cottonmouth Kings thing and getting it out there. So you know, and I won't say like, oh, you know, with a lot of these guys, I'm not individual fans of a lot of them, but when they all get together and do stuff, I love the contrast and the music that they make putting it together. I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee, but I'm still listening to you.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Shout out to everyone that's been kicking it with us. Y'all are the motherfucking shit. We appreciate y'all. Um, Real quick, while he's off camera, I want to let it be known that this Sunday, I know we had said that Carnival Spirits would be reviewing The Knot. Beastmaster got a hold of me today and requested that we actually not review The Knot this fucking weekend because he doesn't think that our live stream will do it justice. He has like a huge plan. So we're going to take a step back, but Beastmaster's The Knot review is coming very fucking soon. And with that, we're back.
We're back. We're doing it. I had to go get me a couple of these chocolate Werthers. I like to just sit here and
Oh, you're
snack
good.
on camera.
So,
Yeah, you know what? It's good to see. So, like you said, because you know you guys were, um, you know, kind of quiet for a little bit, and I come back, and you know there was this whole era of YouTube jugging that I feel that I missed out on with the whole pal cast and all of that, and I knew that it was going on, but I wasn't into the YouTube juggalo scene at that time because there's you know a lot of old head juggalos aren't, you know what I'm saying? They just don't.
yeah.
They come home and they watch their cable TV, they put on ESPN or History Channel, whatever, and they're not popping on YouTube. Holy shit, Raggedy, you get in all the head movies. Every head movie on Friday is going to have Raggedy in it. You are
Whoop
the
whoop.
shit. Hell
But yeah,
yeah.
we had to take a step back. Like I had personal shit. My house burned down, so
Yeah,
I had to
that's
deal with it.
terrible. That's like some of the
Yep.
worst shit. Like, oh man, I couldn't imagine. Your years and years, your life. You're a juggalo. You're collecting all this stuff, and you can't even put a fucking number as far as like financial
Yeah,
value of it, the emotional value of it, the ticket stubs, and oh man, yeah, that's fucking
yeah,
sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah. I lost my entire like Juggalo CD collection. I had some amazing treasures in there. I had like OG AMB shit that like you're not gonna find. I had like their old posters and shit, which that's another bittersweet thing for me is AMB.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because
but with that
there was a
aside,
point where they were selling it and I was buying it. I
you
like
know,
Blood in,
like
Blood Out. I'm not gonna lie. There
yeah,
you go. There
yeah,
you go. I never got no twisted tats, never got no AMB tats, just hatchet and shit. Um, but there was a time there where, like you said, they were selling it and I was buying it. I liked AMB. The first couple times they came to Cleveland and stuff, I wasn't really feeling them, whatever. But like I said, Blood In, Blood Out, I thought was a good one. And then God's Hand. I'm a God's Hand kid. Like that album is still I don't want to say one of my favorites, but when something from that album comes on, I don't skip it. I let it play out.
that's my guilty pleasure. God's Hand is a huge guilty pleasure for me. Like I fucking whip it with the fucking windows down, word for word, singing it, like fucking pointing to people while I'm singing it. I give no fucks. But yeah,
Yeah,
man,
yeah, and it was
it's
a great message. Even friendship remains eternal. Stop hating. That's fresh.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And that meant something. I feel like it meant something at the time. You know what I'm saying? They
it did.
truly believed it. Now, maybe it faded a little bit since then, whatever. But when they were making that and they were doing that, they believed that. And I feel like them
Yeah.
believing it, the confidence that they had into it was what I do. Oh, like Raggedy super chat, you dumb fucking chat. God, my chat's so fucking stupid. Hey, what up, Trevor Tanner, 420? My dude.
But
Fuck yeah.
you're
Thank you
definitely
guys.
onto something there. Fresh Crew, like there really was like a camaraderie there, and it meant something. And you know, um, we started making our second mixtape, Carnival Spirits mixtape, right before all that beef set off. And there's a version of our mixtape that's like 5 or 6 different features that are all from Canonize. So
Oh.
um that iteration will probably never fully see the light of day. But yeah, like that whole beef thing like really fucked shit up. Like we had to put a break on everything. Um like we have a couple songs with Bones Dub, which I feel like Bones Dub really got the shit into the stick and all of that. Like
Yeah, and not that yeah, he definitely wasn't the star of AMB when it came down to it. And I just realized I thought his name was Bone Stub, like somebody that got their arm cut out, like Bone
yeah,
Stub, but it's Bones Dub, not
yeah,
Bone Stub. I just figured that out, whatever. But yeah, he did because that's like this is your partner here, Young Wicked that's your partner, and he's over here making decisions that maybe don't have the group's best interest at heart with the decisions that he's making. But
yeah,
also, what are you going to do? You're painted into a corner here where
yeah.
that's your guy, and he's kind of taking the reins for it.
Well, it's not just his guy; it's his literal younger brother that's out there
Right,
wilding.
it's right. This was family. I got to have his back no matter what.
Yeah, like I feel like he really got the shit into the stick with that because like if you remember he was supposed to be in like he's supposed to be in the Have Nots and that got scrapped as well because of that. Like he had to duck out of that project. That was him, ABK, and Big Hoodoo,
Hmm.
which they ended up doing one with just Big Hoodoo and ABK. But I feel like ABK is another like interesting one when it comes to like his kind of departure from the label because it was a very quiet departure. And at the same time, he's trying to claim, oh no, everything's good. Like I still got albums coming out there. I'm dropping an
Eh,
album there, here, and here. Like it kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
got
and it's like,
muddy.
well, wait a minute, yeah, that how does this work? Because right, because they're eventually gonna clash. Somebody's not gonna like something that you're doing with it, and that was another thing where I feel like Psychopathic got real petty, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them, right? Where they got real petty for a while there, where it was like, oh, if you work with an MNE artist, then you're not welcome on any of our show. You're out. We don't fuck with you no more. We don't need you. That and there's been a few artists to kind of skate through that. Kung Fu Vampires done stuff with everybody, and there's been some artists that have kind of skated through that, but for the most part, they've blackballed bands for or groups, for doing things with Twisted or for doing things with MNE in general. And that's kind of you know, when it because at the end of the day, it's the music business, right? And it's about business, it's about money. Uh and a lot of these people that are out here, uh, it takes a lot to be able to do this full time. Now, okay, maybe a guy like Kung Fu Vampire, he's full time Kung Fu Vampire. He makes enough money off of his merch and off of his touring and all of that to survive and do stuff. But a lot of these guys that are out here doing this, well, shit, man, they still work at Home Depot. They still got a day job in the kitchen doing stuff, or maybe at least their girlfriend works or something. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to be able to live off of doing your art like this. So they're just making decisions that they feel are gonna financially benefit them at the end of the day. And hey, you go over here and you do this with him, and then next thing you know, these guys are like, oh, we're not fucking with you no more. And you're like, well, fuck, I thought I was just trying to fucking do what I just, they're caught in the middle with it. Cause yeah, there's this whole unwritten, fucking Bible of juggalo politics that if you haven't been here for the past 20 years living it, you're not going to know a lot of it. And I'll even tell you, like recently, with the big hoodoo thing, and we've been seeing big hoodoo pop back up around a little bit recently. And I was a little bitter with hoodoo after all that shit went down with Laney and shit, whatever, the Hollow Wicked stuff. That was very heartbreaking and personal for me. And they ousted hoodoo, and then it's like, oh, okay, hoodoo's out. He's not one of us. We don't fuck with hoodoo no more. Fuck big hoodoo. And then it's like, oh, hoodoo's playing the float. And it's like, well, damn, wait a minute. I thought we didn't fuck with hoodoo. What's going on here? Everybody deserves a little forgiveness and all of that too. Um, that's it. Oh, hey, fucking, hey, Ray says Jeffrey Nothing of Mushroom Head is a local stagehand in Cleveland. I can believe that.
I
I can,
believe that one
yeah, I can
thousand
believe that.
percent.
I think he was the only one they didn't invite onto the No Faces tour that they're just doing.
Yeah,
They're doing a
yeah,
tour with,
a shame.
and
A
right,
sh-
and
oh.
it's a shame, but he's a real disturbance in the locker room, though.
So you think that ICP will ever mend ties with Twisted?
No, no. At this point, I think they gotta stand on their ground, and it's maybe not Shaggy. Okay, maybe Shaggy doesn't hold that same bitterness. Um, but let's look at the reality of things. And hey, Precious shout out to Precious Juggalos in the chat because he says, I don't know much, but I know I'm glad to be here. And Precious is an older guy, and he kind of just got back into the scene recently, and he does his
I
little
love the
art
Precious.
thing with yeah, he jugifies the precious moments and
Which
stuff.
real quick, actually, will my fucking thing let me do this? Since we got Precious here, I don't know if you saw this, Precious, so I'm gonna show this. This is just for you, if it works.
Oh shit, look at that. Congratulations.
That's for you, Precious Juggalos.
Hell yeah. I
So
I watched a lot of Precious Juggalo Shovel. He streams every day when I get off work. He's on like every day from 5:30 to 6:30 here. And I love going on. His chat's real nice. The people in it are super cool and very welcoming. And he's very interactive with his chat. They laugh, they're lighthearted. He shows
yeah,
you what he's doing, how he's creating these things and bringing them to life. He takes suggestions from the chat on how to do things.
which
And
when it comes to
uh,
Precious Juggalos, like Don Chaos, I'm pretty sure introduced me. But then my mom started sharing me a bunch of the fucking work, like the Care Bears and shit like that. She's like, "Did you see this?
yeah,
This is so cool." So,
yeah.
like,
And you know
I think
what?
that's
He's a real
awesome.
level-headed guy. So like is Precious Juggalos like the downest, most knowledgeable juggalo or anything? Like, no, but he's learning and he appreciates what we got here, and he loves being here. And that's all you can really ask for, is that, like, man, if you're going to be here in the juggalo community, love it and enjoy it and have fun with it. Don't just sit around and bitch about the things you don't like, and oh, this person this and these people that and this. Like, if that's all you're doing is just bitching about everything, fucking turn your phone off and go go touch some grass, dude. Because uh
Right.
the reality of it is, like, the internet jugging is only a very small fraction of what it really is. And like I said, I'm fortunate, being in the hatchet belt, but running across people like that and seeing their enthusiasm and stuff for the different stuff it brings it makes me excited about doing it again. When I drop a little bit of a story and he goes, oh wait, what are you talking about, what's that? And then it's like, oh well, hell, maybe he didn't know about this. Oh, okay, well, and then I get to tell a little. It makes me excited about telling the story again. uh, and
Right.
that's a good thing too with it. That's it. Yeah, he says, let's just create and celebrate what is created. Yeah. And if somebody's doing something you're not fond of or you don't like, hey, guess what? Turn around, because there's somebody else doing something else over here. And if you don't like that, turn around, because there's somebody doing. You don't have to deal with any. There's so much going on
Right.
that if you don't like Precious Moments and you go, oh, he's a sissy painting dolls over there, and I'm not into no sissy doll painting bullshit. Well, hey, that's cool, man. You can go over and catch somebody else at Dead Canvas with Timothy Young, where this guy's like pulling out his teeth and his hair and putting them in pictures and like fucking painting them with his own blood and shit. Like, these guys are nuts. There's people out there just doing things. You can find your groove, man. You just got to look for it instead of bitching about what everybody else is doing.
Right. Like, I think that's whenever we first started Carnival Spirits, one of the big things was the drama out of here. Keep it off of here.
Yes,
We don't want
yes,
to we don't want to put focus on all the negative. Like, if something happens and it's noteworthy, like, yeah, we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? But we don't need to
yeah.
put a spotlight directly on something negative, hyper focus. Like, it's
One thing
it's just
in
spreading negativity.
Yes, and one thing that the internet has done, going back, being Jugga famous. Okay, everybody wants to be Jugga famous, and everybody wants their opinion to matter and be heard. Um, but not everybody wants to hear your opinion on things, and that's one thing. Like with my show, I do. We'll talk about a little bit of some bullshit that's going on there, but I always try to keep in mind that, like, that's not the focus of things. Okay, there was some little fuck shit, and I never try to just outright down somebody or tell people that watch my show that I never say, hey, those guys over at Carnival Spirits, they're a bunch of assholes. You shouldn't watch them. I never do that. I never do that with anybody. Watch whatever the fuck you want to watch. A lot of times I even show shit that I don't like because somebody else might like it. They might see it on my show. And there's plenty of eyes and ears and views for everybody here. We're supposed to be a family and lift each other up. And there's so many people trying. And when I came on doing this stuff, one thing I wanted to do was share out music for some of these artists that don't have the means to promote how things need to be promoted. Okay, so like somebody, even take a guy like on Bloody Ruckus's level. Okay, and Ruckus, he's fairly popular, he's made a name for himself. But if people aren't, Bloody Ruckus drops an album and he shares it out to his people, and he's sharing it and he's sharing it, and then after a month of him sharing me the same shit, I'm like, yo, bro, fuck, I'm sick of you sharing your shit to me. But if other people start sharing it out and showing people too, we all have to support each other. So if you see something you like from an artist like that he doesn't have millions of dollars to dump into promotional things and get them an ad and these other outlets of things, so they count on the underground. This was my whole idea behind the Spamily era, right? Where if you see Juggalo content that you like, spam the fam, show it, put it out to them. If you hear a song that you like, share it out to the family. It's the Spamily era where we're all sharing each other's shit and finding out about it. And of course, yeah, there's going to be some things you don't like. There's going to be some things you don't like, but you don't have to reshare everything. But if there's something you like, share it to your homies and tell them about it, because we need to be a street team for these underground artists. They depend on us for this.
Right. Like,
It's hard.
it's our scene. So if we want to see it thrive, we got to put in a little effort to help it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, and I know that, I'm always hyping up Clockwork E, but I also know that that's not everyone's cup of tea. And some people say, oh, I don't like Clockwork E. I don't want someone to hear Clockwork E and think that that's what a juggalo is. They're over there rapping about buttholes and juggalo penis. And, but those guys really do have some deep, deep songs with some meaning to it. And they're actually pretty talented guys. I'll give it to them. So if you run into Kyle, make sure you tell him that I said that.
Oh, for sure. I love Clockwork E, man. And I gotta say, like, on the Spamily thing, I really feel that. Like, before we moved to Vegas and like decided this is where we were staying, we kind of just hopped in our car and drove around, went and visited some homies here and there to figure out, what exactly we wanted to do. Because we didn't have anything holding us down to where we were. We were in California. And my wife
Yeah,
worked
and
at
it's
Big Lots.
expensive. It's expensive to live out there. It's
Yeah. Yeah, my wife worked at Big Lots though, and they closed in December of last year before last. So we were just kind of kicking it, and like, she wasn't working, and it was like, well, what are we gonna do? Well, let's move. All right, cool. We went down to like San Antonio and shit. But point of my story is, whenever I was meeting up with people on this road trip, I was showing them Clockwork E, and that's
because
exactly what
they're
I was
not big.
doing.
They are not big out west. And even a lot of, I feel like, West Coast jugging is different than what we do, because the West Coast is deprived of a lot of the juggalo shows. How often does
Yeah.
Insane Clown Posse get out there, really? Like, even in their heyday of touring, they might come out there once a year if you were lucky, or once every couple. I remember back in the day of them doing all the Hatchet Attack stuff and selling out back-to-back shows in Albuquerque and shit like that. And like, I
Mhm.
thought like, man, like, good for them. But the West is just a little different. And I feel like a lot of
Oh yeah.
the West Coast shit is they're a little, I don't know, the Ohio, we're kind of goofy. we make fun of ourselves and we make fun of shit, and we're not afraid to talk about taking a shit in the mosh pit or whatever, you know. But out west there, they're a little more gangster with their shit, and they're a little more serious with it. So it's hard to like I said, it's hard for me to grasp with it. But I know that, you know, yeah, I feel like they're not really big out there. And it's good that people are out there actually showing them to people, and maybe showing them something beyond Juggalo Penis or Give Me a Show, where it's kind of just that shock butthole poo poo pee pee rap. Shout out my man Gold in the chat, Juggalo Gold from motherfucking Canada. He's a Mountie and shit. What's up, Mountie?
Oh yeah. Yeah, real quick, gotta give a rest in peace to my homie Trevor. Like, I turned him on to Clockwork E during that road trip, and he passed away since. The last thing we did together was listen to Clockwork E. So I always have that memory, you know.
And you know what? And that's dope that the music reminds you of shit like that. You know, this life is short, Seth. It really is. It happens quick, and where we are right now in the jug and shit, you know, I feel like a lot of the old school shit and going to shows in my 20s and 30s and stuff, that like I took it for granted. That I realize now that those were the good old days. But when they were going on then, I didn't realize that they were the good old days and kind of took it for granted. So I've been trying to be a little more appreciative of what we got going on right now. And right now in the Juggalo community, yeah, there's some division with shit because it's real high school set clicky like with shit. But also the people that are in it together, the friends of friends that are doing this, that are supporting each other and loving each other and truly embracing what we got, and buying the merch. And like you said, you know, now you have that bond with Clockwork E with your dude when you hear their shit and they remind you of it, you know. And like I said, you know, my uncle who passed away a long time ago, and my man Creepy that just passed away recently, you know, there's still old school riotous shit and shit that comes on that like reminds me of them. And then I got to remember that I'm like, man, I do this stuff for them guys. I do this stuff for the people that need those memories. You know what I'm saying? That like, you know, we're bonding over this. It's so much more than just music. It's our lifestyle. It's our way of life. It's our friends that we make. It determines the way we treat people. It determines the way we treat ourselves even. That like it gives us this confidence. And if you can, you know, walk around liking songs about buttholes or losing your junk by a Timu fuck toy or whatever, and laugh about it and sing about it proudly and laugh about it, like that takes a certain level of confidence. You know, that's just not something you know you could do. But man, like I couldn't be prouder of what those boys are creating as far as understanding, you know, they came from this. We created them. So the juggalos that say like, oh, well, they don't represent me. It's like, well, yeah, they do, because they're a product of our environment, the environment that we created. So I'm proud as hell of everything that those guys have done, and done it all on their own. You know, they've probably learned a lot. They've, you know, made some money, they've lost some money, but their merch game is on point, and they understand that if you want to thrive in the music biz, it's not about the music, it's about everything that goes along with it. It's about going on tour. It's about printing dope jerseys and dope shirts, and actually they just made some pants and stuff. And it's like, man, like, you know, keeping it fresh and making the people want to support you like that. You know, it's hard to do. So I'm very proud of those guys. Nobody tell them I said that though. Fuck them.
When it comes to like Clockwork E and like Siamese Goat God and all these people that are hitting right now, I'm campaigning, because a lot of people are like, oh, this is the future. This is the future. No, pay close attention. Kind of like what you're talking about. This is now. Pay attention to what's going on now. Now is the time.
Right. And okay, you know, say, oh, maybe, yeah, it's the future, but it's also you know, it's just a blade of grass. You know, pay attention to the roots. Don't I'm not saying it's not gonna grow into a big old tree and you know, whatever that, but like right now, like pay attention. These guys are putting their roots down in it. And a lot of these guys, one thing I really love about the juggalo, the underground music juggalo scene is these guys are only a click away if you really want to message them and say, hey man, when you said XYZ in your song lyrics, that really made me feel it, and this is what I interpreted from it, and whatever. And they will hit you back and say, hey, thanks. You know, shit, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
man.
shit,
Like,
unhappy in the chat also. He says you can see them Sunday in St. Louis. You're gonna be opening that one, unhappy?
heard
Fuck
that.
yeah.
Which unhappy, I might be seeing you here in a few weeks. Gloom to the Tomb. I'm still not sure if I'm going to be able to make it, but Gloom to the Tomb's
Oh
going
my
down.
god, I wish I could go. I pre-ordered my Gloom Unit CD already. I can't wait for it to get here. I can't wait to hear it in the car. I think
Hell yeah.
Acetone and Frankie are dope fellas. Frankie's like one of my biggest haters, but he also keeps me on my toes. So I don't mind that. I keep him around. I'm like, all right, you hate on me, but you right. You ain't wrong, no, you know. So I'm very excited for what those guys are doing and what they're getting ready to put out, and because it's hard out there on the West Coast to get the support. You know, one thing, like I was saying with the Ohio Juggalo thing, that a lot of the artists support each other, and it's a lot of the same fans. So it's it's easy for us to go to a show every 2 weeks or you know every week where it's a packed up crowd and people are buying merch and whatever because it's everybody supporting everybody. But out west, everything is so fucking far away that it is hard to have those regular get-togethers.
Well, too, like it's just it's a tough market. Like here in Vegas, there's always something going on. In LA, like LA is fucking LA once again, always something going on. Like, I saw
But not
Cottonmouth Kings.
necessarily, not necessarily right. Okay, yeah, Cottonmouth Kid, but right, there's always something
Yeah,
going on. But it's not always juggalo. Same thing with Vegas,
yeah,
that there's always all kinds of weird, wild shit going on. You can go to Fremont Street and check anything out anytime, you
yeah,
know, but it's not always jug shit. The jug
yeah,
shit is where you're gonna get that family environment.
yeah. But like even whenever I went to see Cottonmouth Kings, there's maybe 30 some odd people there, and that's in the we're on Cottonmouth King Coast, so it's
Yes,
just a
yeah,
tough market.
they've kind of faded out. They went through their own little you know, I didn't realize till recently a lot of the bullshit that they went through with the actual Cottonmouth King's name and you know, their YouTube channel and Instagram and all of that getting uh taken by this other guy. And there's all this, behind the scenes drama. But I also know that the quality of music isn't there like it was back in the early 2000s either. They've lost a lot of people. Pakalika, which may not have contributed much vocally to things, but um,
The vibe.
it was a staple. Yeah, the vibe. It was part of it. Having Lou Dog come out on the drums, and Cottonmouth Kings was one of the first rap groups that I had ever seen where somebody was out physically playing the drums while they performed, and it blew me away back in the day. Like live music, I love live music. Okay, I love going and watching a live band, and there is something to be said about pulling that off and making it sound good. Because I don't know if you've ever picked up a guitar, but it's hard to make it sound good, especially with four other guys doing things too. So when you get a live band together and they're jamming, or like I said, the doing the rap, because I've noticed that like Esham's been doing that a lot live lately. Tech Nine's been doing that live lately. Twisted's done it where they keep a drummer with them. because the vibe of that guy on the drums with the music is just, it adds a whole different feeling to it, a whole different vibration, and I love that. I miss that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, like musically, it's definitely changed up, and I don't know. I like the new stuff they're doing, but I respect everything you're saying because 25 to Life, the last album that Cottonmouth Kings put out, is now listed as a D-Loc album.
Uh,
So if that tells
Right,
you
right.
everything there.
Yeah, I know they've been having a bunch of drama too with Stack Styles was, one of their guys that they're, having this drama with. He released this song. I was on his album, but it's a D-Loc song and he didn't get paid for it and he didn't have the, it's just all this behind the scenes
Yeah.
bullshit drama, and it ends up getting flooded out, because of the internet, and everybody wants their side to be heard, so it ends up getting flooded out there, and it just takes away from a little bit of the kayfabe of it all. Even
Yeah.
Violent J coming on with he's a TikToker now, and you could see him without his face paint all the time now, and I'm like, man, I miss those days of, like, there was very hard to find a picture of Jay or Shaggy with their face not painted, and there was this lore behind it, and I believe that they lived their life as these evil clowns that were doing all these wrong things for the right reasons, and this vigilante superhero shit, and now I see fucking Violent J cooking lasagna with his girlfriend and shit on TikTok, and it's just kind of like, yeah, like, are you the Duke of the Wicked though? Come on, like, come on, Duke.
You make me
But
happy that I'm not on TikTok or social media because
dude, I'm telling you. But on another note of that, I don't know if you've seen any of this with Violent J's health concerns, that they've had to cancel the show. They had to cancel the show. Were they supposed to go somewhere tonight, or they had a few nights off? I'm not exactly
I'm not
sure
even sure.
how it went, but I know he left the Davenport, Iowa show early. He left like halfway through the set. There's kind of video of him where he's like almost clutching at himself, and he's like leaning against the 1C and ICP. They got the big light thing, and he's like leaning against it, and you could tell he's not doing good. And then he kind of drifts backstage, and they said that he left in an ambulance or something, and I'm like, whoa, like this is not good. Shit gets real when I talk
Man.
a lot of shit and I make fun of these guys and I do whatever, but also these guys are my heroes. I've looked up to these guys for 30 years for guidance, for when I was feeling down, when I didn't know how to deal with the problems that I had going on, and I would listen to the music and shit, and these guys have guided me spiritually for years. So,
Right.
oh, okay, Unhappy says they had a show tonight. They're playing tonight. Well, good. I hope that whatever's
All
good.
right.
I was making fun of Sarah poisoning them and shit, and that's probably not cool, but no
I'm
wonder
also
why
hoping they're
people
doing
don't
good.
like me.
I know they have Stranglemania coming up this weekend, and I'm pretty sure ICP scheduled to wrestle alongside the Vampiro. They're at least coming out with him.
Yes, yeah. I see some of that too, or whatever, right? And that makes you wonder, like, yeah, how much are they really going to be able to pull off? I understand that they're older gentlemen now, with all the stuff that they've been doing, and they probably haven't taken the best care of themselves over the years with stuff. But yeah, I don't wish, I don't want to see anything bad happen to any of these guys. I want these guys to live forever. Juggalos never die. And then you see some
Right.
shit like this, like your guy going off stage, and it really makes you think, like, damn, we are just all mortal beings, and we should really take the time to love what we have here and enjoy it and embrace it, because I don't want to say it. I want to say bad shit, but hey, they're not going to be here forever. There's going to be a time where there's not going to be a gathering. There's not going to, there's not going to be a next album coming out, because it's not physically possible. And so, yeah, we just really, I'm really trying to focus myself on a lot of the positive things that are going on and enjoy what we have. Hey, Beastmaster in the chat. He said Jay always bounces back. You remember?
That's
It's like the
right.
old school. I grew up on Hulk Hogan wrestling and shit. Okay, so I remember when they put his arm and they put his arm and then he's not going back down. The fucking Hulkamaniacs are running wild.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's go, Jay.
let's go, Jay. Fucking get
Jay
the fuck
running
up
wild.
and get him. Yeah, and that's
Well,
another thing too. The JCW stuff that has been so great recently. All the things Russo is doing with it, and the different storylines and newer people getting involved. Some of these bigger names. It's awesome. I'm like I said, I'm glad to be a part of it and watch it and see it go down because there's a long time where I just blew JCW off. I didn't pay no attention to it. It wasn't my cup of tea. But now that
yeah.
I've gotten into it, I see the stuff they're doing. I love it.
Hell yeah. It's definitely an amazing time, I think, for us to be juggalos. Like, the scene is thriving. We've gotten over the fucking bullshit hump. Fucking JCW is running wild. We got fucking Vince Russo. The clowns are fucking clocking gold and platinum left and fucking right.
The gathering
the
location
down.
is moving. That's another thing is, as a guy that goes to the gathering every year, and I know that, like I said, the gathering is the same, 6,000 or 7,000 people every year, and then a couple thousand new people, hit or miss. They come, they go. But the gathering moving out of Ohio to a new location, I feel, is going to bring in a whole new influx of people that maybe didn't go because they had been to a couple Legend Valley gatherings and they're like, okay, I know what that's about. I've been there. Going to a new venue and making it fresh. That's going to bring some fresh people in. I'm really looking forward to all of that too. I don't even care who's on the fucking lineup. It could be fucking, I don't give a fuck who it is. It could be fucking Violent J farting in a mason jar for main stage. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to be there. Fuck that lineup. As long as I know my man's Unhappy's going to be there and Stasher's going to be there and Sis is going to be there. And, that's the shit I'm talking about is that's going to be our spot where we get to come together and see each other and hang out and talk shit and have fun and laugh about all the dumb shit on the internet. And you know what I mean? I so look forward to that every year. And I've been getting treated like a celebrity recently when I go places. So that's completely different for me. Usually I just get dirty looks and shit when I walk into a show. Now they're like, hey, Swills Edition. Hey, how you doing?
That's hella fresh, right, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, hey, anybody want to buy me a drink?
Any takers?
Any takers? Who wants? No, but I love it, man. I really love where the Juggalos are going with things, and I feel like there's a upswing coming in. I really feel the upswing of vibration of the family love. Even with the Juggle Ohio thing, Darby and Devereaux did a free meet and greet in the parking lot of the King of Clubs the afternoon of day 2. So at 2:00 in the afternoon, Shaggy the Airhead and Darby and Devereaux, Anti-Boy, Unhappy, a lot of the people that were performing were just there hanging out in the parking lot. Not you had to pay $100, not you had to wait in line to go see them. No, they were just there, just doing it, just being juggalos with the rest of us, taking pictures, fucking kissing hands, shaking babies, whatever, just out there fucking doing the damn thing. And it was such a good feeling to see, people that they're not full of themselves. They're appreciative of what they have and what the underground has done for them. And, same thing like Shaggy the Airhead making all the clothes and doing these pictures. And he does a lot of shit for that's embraced by the juggalos. Maybe it's not necessarily like official psychopathic shit, but the juggalos love the lazy and crazy merch. They love the loudness of it. They love the exclusivity of it. Um, a lot of it's a little loud for me. But I've heard people refer to it as the Gucci of our culture because it's a little bit pricier. The quality's a little bit better. It's not your shit toilet paper, just black concert tee with a print on it. Shout out Acid Cult. Um, but it's great stuff, and all of that coming together and seeing a guy like that you could just go up to him and go, oh, hey man, I loved what you did here. I love whatever. And they're just very approachable people. And it's great. I love the underground music scene here in the Juggalo world for that the artists don't think that they're above anyone else. They're just us that is out there making music, that's out there doing something, so fucking shout out them.
Hell yeah. Well, we're a little over 2 hours in, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this. But before we go, you said shout outs to them, but do you have any other shout outs you want to give?
I ain't falling for this bullshit, dude. I already know how this goes. I go to start talking and you kick me off. That's how I do my guess. No, but hey, shout out to everybody that showed up here and supported me. Big Sis, Pixie, Tree Bro. I see you guys over there. Bizarre. I see you. Unhappy. Shovel from Precious Juggalos, you sissy little doll painter, you. Juggalo Gold from Canada, love it. Don Chaos, which is the completely opposite of chaotic. He's actually a very mellow guy. So fucking whoop whoop to that motherfucker. Anybody else that I missed, whatever, hit me up in a DM and I'll send you some DPs. You know what I'm saying? And Super Nugs. Fuck yeah. All right. Yeah. Much love, Seth, thank you for having me. And I truly appreciate hanging out in the tunnels with you guys. A lot of what you guys have done over the years has paved the way for me and a lot of the other new people that are coming in here. And I learned from you guys. I learned from all the other Juggalo shits. So it's dope. I'm glad that you had me on there. Shout out Replicon Radio, except Rue. Fuck him. But the other two guys, they're cool.
Shout out to Replicon. All love. Always all love to Replicon.
All love. Hell yeah, boys.
All love to everyone out there.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. Whoop, whoop. We're out of here. Seth Moon. We were just in the tunnels with the one and only Swills edition. Thank you all for rocking with us. Till next we meet. Always remember, I'm going to steal this from Beastmaster right now. Always remember to fuck the fuck off. Love y'all. Peace out.